In a quiet neighborhood outside New York City, Amber Donovan lived with her 8-year-old daughter, Emma. Their apartment was old and not very big, but it was warm and cozy, filled with their laughter and little things they loved. Amber was a single mom working hard at a mid-sized marketing company. 5 years ago, she divorced her husband, and since then, she had done everything alone: work, bills, and raising Emma. She often felt tired from working long hours and the daily train rides, but every time she saw Emma's bright smile, her tiredness disappeared. "Mom, I got a perfect score on my math test today," Emma would say happily as soon as she got home from school. Emma was smart, kind, and had lots of friends. She had big brown eyes and long brown hair, just like Amber. "That's amazing, you're so smart, Emma," Amber would say, hugging her daughter tightly. In her heart, Amber always promised herself, no matter how hard life gets, "I will give this child the best life I can." Amber's parents, Judith and Howard Clark, lived in a fancy neighborhood about an hour away. Howard used to be an executive at a big pharmaceutical company and now enjoyed retirement with plenty of money from his pension and investments. Judith, who had been a high school teacher, spent her days now as the leader of a gardening club, showing off to her friends. Amber's younger sister, Olivia, was a lawyer at a top law firm. She lived close to their parents in a fancy apartment with her husband, Brian, a doctor, and their 6-year-old son, Michael. Olivia was always perfect, at school, at work, and even as a wife and mom. "You should come see our new vacation house. We're going this weekend," Olivia often called to brag. Her voice always had that cold, proud tone. Ever since Amber was a teenager, she had felt the unfairness in her family. Judith and Howard loved Olivia more. When Olivia got into law school as the top student, they threw a big party at an expensive restaurant. When Amber got into art college, they just said, "Isn't there something more practical you can study? Amber, why can't you be more like Olivia?" Her mother's favorite line. Amber felt like she was always the not good enough child. Even when they got married, the difference was clear. Olivia's wedding to Brian was huge and fancy, with their parents paying for everything. When Amber married Jason, who worked as a web designer, her parents said, "Are you sure you can trust him to provide for you?" After Amber's divorce, the gap grew even bigger. Her parents often invited Olivia's family over for dinner, gave Michael expensive toys and paid for his summer camps. For Emma, they only gave practical gifts, like workbooks, and only on birthdays or Christmas. "I got Emma some math workbooks, she needs to keep up," Judith would say, while giving Michael the newest game console. Still, Amber wanted Emma to know her grandparents. She didn't want Emma to feel left out. Emma always tried so hard to please them too. "Grandma, I drew this, do you like it?" she'd ask shyly, but Judith would just glance at the drawing and say, "That's nice, dear," then turn back to Michael. Every time, Amber's heart ached, but she never said anything bad about her parents or sister in front of Emma. She hoped Emma would understand when she got older. Christmas was the hardest time. Every year, her parents' house was beautifully decorated. They threw big parties for Olivia's family. Amber and Emma were treated like guests, not family. "Maybe this year will be better," Amber thought as she circled December 25th on the calendar. Emma had wished for a new doll, the Princess Stella doll. To afford it, Amber worked extra hours and saved every bit she could. On Christmas Eve, Amber started the car. She checked Emma in the rearview mirror. Emma sat in the back seat, holding a tin of cookies she had made herself, tied with red and green ribbons. "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa will like the cookies?" Emma asked, her eyes big with hope. "Of course they will, you made them with so much love," Amber said with a smile, but inside, she was nervous. She knew her parents could be cold. They drove through the rich neighborhood where her parents lived, big houses covered in Christmas lights, fancy cars in driveways, holiday music in the air. "Mom, do you think Santa will come to Grandma's house too?" Emma asked softly. "I'm sure he will," Amber said, thinking about the secret gift waiting at home, the Princess Stella doll, bought with every extra dollar she could save. Just picturing Emma's smile made Amber's heart warm. When they reached the big white house, Olivia's expensive SUV was already parked in front. "You're late," Judith said when she opened the door. "Olivia and her family have been here half an hour already." Just then, the doorbell rang. Amber stood up, feeling a bit confused. When she opened the door, her parents, Judith and Howard, were standing there. Both of them looked tired and sad. Judith's eyes were red from crying and her makeup was all smudged. "Amber, we need to talk," Judith said softly. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Come in," Amber said calmly, trying to hide the storm of feelings inside her. Howard and Judith stepped into the small living room. Emma peeked out from behind her mother, half hiding herself. "Emma, can you play in your room for a bit?" Amber asked gently. Emma looked unsure, but she nodded and went to her room. She left the door a little open. Judith sat down slowly on the couch. "You saw Olivia's photos on social media, didn't you?" she asked, her voice weak. "Yes," Amber answered. Her tone was cold but steady. "You told us you had no money for Emma's gift. Then I see you buying Olivia's family more expensive things the very next day." "We can explain," Judith started, but Amber cut her off. "Explain what?" "How you've treated Emma and me for years. Olivia always first. Emma and I left with the leftovers." Amber's voice cracked with anger. "That's not true," Howard said quickly. "We always tried to be fair." "Fair?" Amber raised her eyebrows. "Michael gets science camps and new toys every holiday. Emma gets a workbook, if she's lucky. How is that fair?" The room went silent. Nobody spoke for a few moments. Then Judith's shoulders dropped. "We were wrong," she whispered. "When I saw Olivia's post, I suddenly realized what we'd done. I couldn't stop thinking about Emma's face." Amber's voice softened a little. "I'm a grown woman. I can handle it, but Emma's just a child. She did nothing wrong except wanting her grandparents to love her." Howard leaned forward. "We truly regret it. Please, give us a chance to make it right." Amber looked at her parents for a long moment. Her chest felt heavy. Could she really forgive them so easily? The pain didn't just vanish. "I can't decide right now," Amber said quietly. "I need time, and Emma does too." A tiny voice spoke up behind them. Emma had peeked out through the door and was now stepping into the living room. Her little face looked serious and grown up. "Emma?" Amber said, surprised. Emma stood straight and looked her grandparents right in the eyes. "Grandma, Grandpa," she said in a clear voice, "if you don't love me, that's your loss. I'm happy because I have Mom." Judith suddenly started crying. Howard's eyes turned red too. "We do love you, Emma," Howard said, his voice shaking. "We just didn't show it well." Emma looked at them bravely. "Are you really sorry? Will you really keep your promise this time?" "Yes," Judith said quickly, wiping her tears. "We promise." Amber felt tears sting her eyes. She was proud of Emma's courage. Her little girl knew her worth. "It's late now," Amber said, standing up. "We need some time alone." Judith and Howard nodded sadly. Before leaving, Judith placed a small gift box on the table. "This is for Emma, what she should have had for Christmas," she said softly. When the door closed behind them, Amber knelt down and hugged Emma tight. "Are you okay?" Amber whispered, brushing Emma's hair back. "Yes," Emma said, smiling a little. "We're a strong team, right, Mom?" "Always," Amber said, kissing her forehead. That night, Amber lay awake for a long time. Part of her wanted to cut her parents off forever, but she knew she had to think carefully, not just for herself but for Emma too. The next morning at work, Amber sat down with her boss, Martha. "Amber," Martha said with a big smile, "we'd like you to lead our new big project for a West Coast client. Are you interested?" "Yes, please, I'd love to," Amber said at once. This was her chance. If she did well, she might get promoted again. That weekend, Amber and Emma went to the park. They sat on a cold bench, sipping warm hot chocolate while winter sunshine touched their faces. "Mom, what will we do about Grandma and Grandpa?" Emma asked, looking up at her. Amber looked back at her daughter. "What do you think?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "I'm still mad, but people make mistakes. Maybe we can give them another chance, just a small one." Amber smiled. She was amazed at her daughter's big heart. "You're right, we'll keep our distance but watch. If they really change, we'll see." "Okay," Emma nodded. The next few weeks, Amber threw herself into work. She woke up early and stayed late, working weekends too. Emma did her best to help, folding clothes, setting the table, doing her homework alone. "Thanks for helping me, sweetie," Amber said one night, seeing Emma carefully putting laundry away. "I want to help you, Mom. I'm big enough now," Emma said proudly. Amber also started taking freelance jobs on the side, doing web design at night. She saved every extra dollar. She knew she needed to build a stronger future for Emma, with or without her parents' help. She stayed polite but distant with her parents. She sent birthday cards and sometimes talked on the phone, but there were no visits for a while. Olivia never called at all. She probably knew, but she didn't care. By spring, Amber's project was a huge hit. Martha called her into the office and announced, "Congratulations, Amber, the West Coast client loved your work. We're promoting you to team leader, and you're getting a 20% raise." Amber could hardly believe it. That night, she brought home a cake for Emma. "Guess what? Mommy got promoted," she said as Emma ran to her. "Yay, Mom, we have to celebrate," Emma shouted. "Let's eat cake." "Yes, let's celebrate," Amber laughed. "Next Christmas will be special, I promise." "It's already special with you, Mom," Emma said, hugging her tight. "But, maybe Santa will bring the Princess Stella castle too?" Amber laughed. "We'll see, Your Highness." By fall, Amber was busier than ever. Her team respected her. Her savings grew. Emma was doing great in school too. She won a writing contest and got praise for her science project. "Mom, I got a certificate," Emma squealed one day after school. "My teacher said my story was the best." "You're amazing," Amber said, hugging her tight. "My smart writer girl." Her parents were changing too, slowly. Judith called on Emma's birthday and sounded truly happy for her. Howard asked Emma about her school and listened closely, but Amber stayed careful. She wanted to be sure it wasn't just words. In October, Martha called Amber again. "A manager position is opening up. You're my first choice," she said. If Amber got it, she would make even more and give Emma an even better life. December came. Amber went shopping without worry. She bought Emma the Princess Stella castle she had dreamed about. She also planned a real Christmas party, with friends, food, and laughter. "Mom, are Grandma and Grandpa coming this year?" Emma asked as they decorated the tree. Amber paused. "What do you think?" Emma thought hard. "I think we can invite them, but they have to keep their promises." Amber smiled. Her little girl was wiser than many adults. She picked up the phone and dialed. When the doorbell rang on Christmas Eve, Amber opened the door calmly. Judith and Howard stood there, looking a little nervous but hopeful too. "I'm glad you came," Amber said, letting them inside. Her tone was warm but firm. "Thank you for inviting us," Judith said. She held a small gift in her hands. Inside, the apartment looked different from last year. They had moved to a bigger place. The Christmas tree glowed. Emma's drawings and Amber's paintings filled the walls. Friends were already there, chatting and laughing. "Everyone, these are my parents," Amber said. Karen, her best friend, shook Judith's hand kindly. "Amber and Emma are wonderful," Karen said with a smile. Judith looked surprised, seeing how loved they were. Dinner was warm and happy. People talked about work, kids, and dreams for the new year. Howard found himself laughing with Karen's husband about football. Even Judith relaxed. Finally, it was time for presents. "Emma, this one's for you," Amber said, handing her the biggest box. Emma carefully tore the paper. When she saw the Princess Stella castle, she gasped. "Thank you, Mom," she squealed, hugging Amber tight. Amber peeked at Judith and Howard. They looked touched, maybe even a little ashamed. Then Judith handed Emma her small box. "This is for you. I should have given it to you long ago." Emma opened it and found a tiny silver bracelet with a shiny star charm. "It's beautiful," Emma whispered. "It was my mother's. She gave it to me. Now I want you to have it," Judith said quietly. "You're our precious granddaughter." Emma's eyes glowed. She held the bracelet tight. "Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Grandpa." Amber sat back and looked around. Warm lights, laughter, Emma's happy face, and her parents trying, really trying. Maybe there was hope after all. And this time, Amber knew, whether they kept their promises or not, she and Emma would be just fine, because they had each other, and that was more than enough.